Good afternoon, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Taking a break a little bit on a lot of the things I'm doing this afternoon. I wanted to kind of do a video for you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purpose. Hope you guys are continuing to battle on and conquest not only yourself, but everybody else. So that's good. All right, so thank you for all the comments, the likes, the donations. I appreciate all those as usual. I'm going to go through a lot of these today. We had some very interesting comments this week, and I want to kind of focus on some of those, and we'll continue to work on those and put those in our list of things that we'll continue to get to as we go on. So, all right, so today's topic, and this is Sergio. So Sergio, you know, we talk about a lot of different, sometimes talk about different books and different things, readings. And I would recommend, obviously, the Kelder book that we talk about all the time, Fountain of Youth. I try to mention it every so often if I can, because that's kind of the foundation of a lot of things that we talk about as warriors to continue to have self-control. That leads us into the financial self-control. And the topic for this one is another great book, another short book. And I think I go back to a philosophy that I've heard over the years, that you don't have to have a long, drawn-out book to make sense, and an idea to make sense. So here again, another book called The Richest Man in Babylon. If you get a chance to find that, please do so. And I would recommend reading it because they have a lot of great great ideas about how to actually make money. And there's a couple principles we'll talk about in a second. But Sergio, shout out to you, my friend, for bringing this up because it's one of those great topics, again, that we talk about when it comes to self-control. Now, we have people all the time, and I've referred to my great viewers who kind of talk about semen retention. They go back and forth a little bit talking about, well, how much really important is this, and why should you do this? I think a shout out to Mona Lisa and a few other people talk about the idea that, well, you don't really need to have any knowledge of this kind of stuff. You just go ahead and you're having faith in God, and that's all you need. And, in many regards, Mona Lisa and other people who mention this, they're correct. There's a lot to be said about the faith in God. And you are a co-creator in my estimation. So you're creating things along with going through the direction of the Lord as you go through this. However, the reason we do this, the reason why I'm even on here doing this, is really going back to the perception that a lot of people are struggling. I struggled for many, many years, and I'm not afraid to admit that as a warrior to you guys warriors, that I struggled. I struggled. I had a hard time dealing with I had all that sexual energy, and I was taught all these things about how to use that energy and how this liberated society back in the 60s especially, we're liberated, so we could have free love, all that kind of stuff, and free sex and all kinds of stuff all over the place. So you shouldn't really be inhibited. And this was the word. But that was as a guise. It wasn't really accurate. Because once again, I go back to the old Spider-Man quote that most people can remember. And that's the fact that with great power comes great responsibility. So with this power you have within yourself, you have to control this. And the trouble with a lot of people nowadays is they don't control. They can't control it. In some ways, they've given them hope of controlling it. So that's why we talk about this as the 1%. By itself, is semen retention the most important thing? Of course not. What's the most important thing is your relationship with the Lord. But as we look at different mechanisms to help people, sometimes it's easier to find that way back to the Lord, back to things, by doing things that gets you closer to your Creator. And one of those things is holding back and not releasing all the time with pictures or people that you're with all the time. And not getting into a habit of thinking God is second and thinking of all these other pleasures as being first. Now, God is going to forgive you. I believe He's forgiven me many, many times, and I'm grateful for all that. I've changed my life around because of that, and the things that have happened to me are positive only because I'm following the Lord better than I used to. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of sins. I do a lot of things that I need to go back and correct and work on. But the thing is that there's issues that can help you get closer to your feeling of that. And I see a lot of people, they go to church, they do this, they do that, but they're not really in faith and belief. They don't believe there is an entity called God. And so when we talk about these type of things, it's important to know this, because if you realize that you're not the only one here, you're not alone, that something created you. Now, you could argue about the cows come home, as an old saying. You can argue about whether you're talking about, creation, evolution, whatever you want to talk about. And I've gone both ways over the years. But the idea now that I believe fully is the fact that we're created by somebody. We have to be. All the things that have happened to me in my life have moved to that point. Emerson said this in a famous quotation. He basically said, the course of life is to teach us faith. So we're all on a different pattern. We all have faith in different ways at different levels. And at some point, we're going to kind of get to that point. Now, sometimes it may take until the last minutes of your life to kind of figure it out. But God wants us all back, and I believe he will get us all back one way or the other. There's people who live longer, I think, for purposes and different types of things. And there's things that we do to go ahead and make the world better for other people. I'm hoping that these type of discussions we have make the world better for a lot of people, and trying to make the world better for people that I interact with. I've had a lot of people help me over the years, and I've learned a lot of things, and so I'm trying to go back and give back. And so this is one of the things that we talk about. So we go back to Sergio again here. Let's talk about the richest man in Babylon. This is a story about a person who became very, very wealthy in Babylon. Now we can forget about the whole Babylon thing and just look at the principles here, because they go back to the same old principles we talk about in and looking at being strong and self-control. So we look at this whole thing, we're looking at self-control. And we look at the idea that you have to be able to be strong in holding your money and using it wisely. So the idea then you're looking at, guys, is trying to figure out, okay, when we look at this, what is the whole idea behind this? And so as this person went ahead and did this, they focused on looking at how to gain wealth. And so the reason that one of the ways they did that was basically kind of looking at what people were doing. And so there's a couple main principles in this book that I always have gotten out of it. And that's to pay yourself first. So that means anything you're making, you're going to go ahead and invest. You're going to take 10%. I take 10% to tithing. I take 10% to go ahead and invest. And then that money then continues to be invested, whether it's stocks, bonds, gold, crypto, whatever it might be. And then you start making a living off your interest. Eventually, this is what people who are wealthy do. They don't touch their principal. We call it the principal, the money you put in. And actually, part of the things I teach a lot of students is in the financial club that I'm with, that I have at school, is the fact that I focus on the exponential growth formula. And that's how to make interest and compound interest and how money grows. But Richest Man in Babylon talks about that whole thing. The other thing is find the right people to go ahead and invest your money. That's another principle that's important. So tithing off the top, finding people who really are wealthy. And the other thing is, as you get older, and this is something that some of younger people might not get to at this point, but your wants become a lot less. You're not into dealing with all these lascivious behaviors. You shouldn't be. As you get closer to God, you should want less and less. And therefore, that you're going to be able to save a lot of money. Now, I give a lot of money and give a lot of time to people at this point. Obviously, I care about trying to help people become better. And so that's why the money aspect do it. The other principle we talk about in a lot of this is as you give more money, you will get more money. Here's why. The tithing principle works with God is because of this reason. If you're not afraid to give God money off the top of what you make, say, for example, you make $100, you give $10 to the church and every $100 you make. If you're not afraid to do that, now you're saying, I'll live with the rest of the money. Now you're putting a lot of faith in the fact that you can make it and live that way. And that creates a lot of this bounty. The other example I'll show you, use is that if you empty out your closet, isn't it funny how you find that once you empty stuff out, now you start getting new stuff in? And it's the same thing when it comes to money. If you put money out, you'll get money in. Zig Ziglar once said, the more you help other people, the more you create a win-win for you. And that's the key. So money is not just grabbing everything you want, warriors, and doing everything you want and forgetting about the other guy. It's creating a win-win, helping other people win while you win. Helping other people make money while you make money. And you've got to take some chances in doing that as well. So once again, I wanted to cut this one a little bit short and talk about this. But again, it goes back to self-control. Can you tithe 10%? Or even can you just invest 10%? Whether forget about the tithing, it's 20% total. 10% in trying to save money every month. Our culture does not do that well in America. Other cultures do it very well outside. And this is why the Asian countries, for instance, have a lot of wealth, because they're able to save money, save 10, 12%. We, I think, are at 3, 4%, most of us. So we struggle because we have all these wants. We want cars, we want houses, all these things. And it doesn't help us in the long term. So, all right, my friends, well, enough of this. I hope you guys are doing well today. Enjoy the Super Bowl tonight. Once again, Sergio, a shout out to you, my friend. Great topic, and we'll go back to it if you guys have any more questions on this and actually how to do some of this. I'm always interested in talking about this. And we have one from Suave 901 tomorrow. We'll talk about no emotions on semen retention. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. So 2 things to remember, guys. First of all, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And secondly, remember to battle on!